And we're recording. Welcome back to episode 12 of the Trove Design Podcast with Charlie Briggs and Andre Ramirez. We are going to be talking. We don't have a guest this week. I know we've been doing that a lot lately. Feel free to go check those ones out. But today we're actually going to be talking about digital art, specifically pursuing some passions through your digital art and sharing it on social media. And we're actually going to be talking about Andres today quite a bit and the art that he's been producing recently and sharing through things like YouTube shorts and Instagram reels as well. And so I would love to get into that real quick. And Andres, could you just tell us a little bit about the art that you have been posting recently?
So I've been watching a lot of Stranger Things, and it's been one of my favorite shows to watch since it first came out. And I thought it'd be fun for this time to put some posters together, and so I've been sharing them on social media, and Charlie saw them, and he's like, well, "Let's talk about this on the podcast." So I'm like, "Okay, let's do this. Let's share some of my work." I'm excited, nervous at the same time, and feel free to put your feedback and your constructive criticism in the comments below when we get into the show and tell piece.
Definitely. Yeah, we want to build a great really good feedback community and just a place where people can show work and share in some of that. And so I'm excited to see this as well. I'm also a big Stranger Things watcher and lover of that show. And so really quick, I just want to say, I don't think that we're going to be talking too much about spoilers, but I did want to put a general just there might be spoilers in this episode. So if you have not seen season 4, the first 7 episodes, I would say maybe just be aware that there could be spoilers, and we'll move forward with that. So first question I have for you, Andres, is why Stranger Things? Like why did you want to do this for your art and for posting?
Great question. So I love Stranger Things for a bunch of different reasons, and I love the 80s aesthetic. I didn't grow up in the 80s, but for some reason I gravitate towards that style, and I have no idea why. If anyone in the comments or anyone watching, if you want to put why you like the 80s aesthetic or why you like Stranger Things, please put them. I'd love to read them and see what other people say. So 80s aesthetic. I love the characters. When I first watched the pilot, it felt like I could be in this group too because it was the freaks and geeks of elementary, and I was definitely a nerd. I don't know if anyone else relates to this who's watching, where you were into nerdy things and I was into Pokemon, and I'm still am to this day, and we'll never let that go probably. And not a fan. Oh no, I should say not a fan. Wasn't aware about Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, and that's something this show introduced me to, and it's very fascinating to me understanding the lore and the mythology that goes behind these storytelling types of format, and I absolutely love that too. I love the storytelling behind these fantasy creatures, and I've taken a lot of inspiration from that and I put it into other projects. Maybe we can talk about that another day, Charles, where I started a different series because of that too. And let's see what else. Definitely, it fits in the things I like about horror. I love horror things, so that's another thing. I like to get scared a little bit, and it's been fun watching the whole story unravel. And telekinesis, like who doesn't like the cool things where you can think it and you can move things around? That's also really cool.
Yeah, I know Stranger Things for me as well has just been one of those great shows where it's just enough thriller horror for me that I'm not into that, but the show's just enough that it's a good little taste into there, as well as yeah, that 80s aesthetic. You kind of get those childhood feelings, and emotions pulled back because you're following these children, and yeah, D&D was shown to me in that first season, and I actually went pretty off the deep end in terms of D&D, and I play regularly now. And so I think there's a lot of similarities between you and I and our love and affinity for Stranger Things. So I'd love to talk a little bit about, well, if you could show some of the art that you've been working on and maybe talk a little bit about what is your process in creating this and sharing it, and I guess what are you sharing, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So I'll start sharing my screen. I'll, I'll keep you on screen there, Charles. is this is the first poster that I created, and what I'm doing is a series of all the chapters within season 4, and that's what I'm aiming for in this little mini series. And also, second part to this is to use this exercise that Sam Horn and Christo have put out there in the world, where if you rearrange a cliche, a common cliche, and so now it's relative to the artwork, the poster, the graphic design in this case. So that's what I was doing. So every dog has its day is the original one, and then I changed it to every game has its day. So for an example, in this episode, try not to put a spoiler in here, but there's two games that are going on, and it's very crucial to the plot points of what's happening throughout the episode. So I thought I could marry the two ideas, the two games together, so that it has some meaning here without giving too much away. And that's the whole point of this piece right now.
I love that. And if people can't notice, aside from that little wordplay that you're doing, you are showing the two games through the basketball. And if people haven't noticed, that is a die right there that is used in D&D. I believe it's a D12 for any super nerds who want to fact check me on that. Let me know in the comments. Let Andres know in the comments. But I love that, how it kind of juxtaposes the two sides of the episode. Also, sorry if I went into too many spoilers there.
No worries, no worries. The other thing too, I forgot to mention this in the beginning of the call, is that I challenged myself to do this one poster, 1 hour. So whatever happens on that hour, I have to let it go, and then if I have to make some final touch-ups, then I'll do that at a later time, just to keep myself on a timeline and not to spend too much time doing this side project in particular, because it's really more so for practice and my love of Stranger Things and love of graphic design tied into one. But I didn't want it to leak into too many hours of my personal time and work time.
Yeah, well, that's great. There's so many questions I can ask there, but I love how you were saying giving yourself that time limit of 1 hour and being able to say, especially because I know you, Andres, and I know that you have a perfectionist mentality, like a lot of designers, right? And so giving yourself that time limit and saying, okay, we're at the hour. This is kind of good enough. Like, what is it? Done is good enough, or good enough is done, or something. Uh,
Done is
uh,
better than perfect.
Done is better than perfect. Thank you. I love that side of it, as well as if you think back to, I believe it was episode 9 when we had the Gold Sheep Design Studio on. They were talking about kind of that playground method of pursuing things that you enjoy, and showing off that work. So if you are maybe a digital artist or a logo designer, and you're really into a TV series, whether it's Stranger Things or something else, creating work around that in terms of a portfolio that you can share, and then that kind of invites that realm into your work and into your life. Viewers, if you hadn't seen it, go back and watch episode 9 where we talk about the playground method. I know it's a little bit of a longer episode, but there's some really good nuggets in terms of making sure that you can do work that you love. And that was a great process there. And I think, Andres, you are exempling that really well through this series in terms of doing some work that you love. Now, you mentioned also you're balancing quite a few things. You have a full-time job. You're doing this podcast with me. I know you have a significant other as well, and you're making art on social media. Can you talk a little bit about some of that balance, and how you're trying to go about that? Because I know for a lot of us, it can feel like, we're sinking in a thing of Instagram, where or any social media, where basically everybody else is going, and it feels like if you're not moving, you're moving backwards. And so I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on having that.
Yeah, that's a great one. And for anyone out there that you've been wanting to do a passion project of some sort, but this is one thing that's happening where you're trying to find a balance between everything that you have going on, whether that's relationships, your personal or entrepreneurship, or your career, or whatever it is, and you're juggling a bunch of different things. I think it is important to put up time aside to the things that you love to do, And for me, that is definitely putting these projects together. I love doing them. Every once in a while, I'll start creating my own series and start putting it out there. So I think it's being upfront with your significant other and saying, or other people that are in your household, or whatever situation you're in, and saying that between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. I'm going to be working on this, and if you can respect this boundary that I'm going to be working on this thing, like please do so. And I would say 9 times out of 10 they're gonna respect that time. Now, if something does happen, pop up, like, oh well, we have this thing, a family thing, um, well then obviously I will be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm not gonna work on my passion project that night, and I'll go on. And so that's what I was doing. So, and I try to batch this one. I tried my best to batch it, like in on a weekend. I think it was the weekend of when Stranger Things came out. So the weekend, 29th, and that afternoon on a Sunday, I tried to do them all, but as you can tell, like I couldn't finish them all. 7 hours of just post building it. Yeah, I had to spread it out into a little bit this week, I think it was. Yeah, and then that's when I finally finished.
Yeah. So I want to ask you too, and maybe you can share. I see you have the next poster queued up if you want. But my next questions are around like how are you producing these? I think you shared like you're using Photoshop, but I'd be interested in the whole process as we are going to be issuing a challenge later on in this episode. I want to give our listeners and our viewers a little bit of insight on how they could maybe make these, what kind of recording software are you using, what apps are you using, and or maybe if there's some free apps if people don't have access to Photoshop. um, oh, you were muted.
I don't know what happened when I was exporting these files. So I'm doing this live, but there's a blood splatter for some reason. I'm not even sure why. What's going on here? That it is clipping for some reason. I have to figure out what's going on there. Oh, I think I know what it is. Hold on, let me let me fix this live here, Charles.
Oh, a little bit of a live show. If that is something that you're interested in as a viewer, for Andres and I to do a little bit more technical dives or kind of almost how-to episodes of the podcast, we can maybe look at doing that. Maybe that's with Photoshop or with a 3D modeling software or rendering. I know Andres and I both do some rendering. Let us know in the comments below if that's something that you'd be interested in.
Definitely. Oh, well, I'm struggling here. I'm juggling a couple different things, but what I think is happening here is this layer needs to be above.
So Andres, I'm
So,
just gonna do some narrating while
okay.
you kind of do that, if that's okay.
Okay.
Basically, so it looks like Andres is using Photoshop. I know that there are other softwares out there like Canva. That I don't know, maybe that's faux pas to say to somebody who likes to use Photoshop, but you may be using some other softwares to create this kind of final design as well. But Andres, what recording software are you using?
I'm using Ecamm Live to share my screen here, but it is a little bit glitchy, as you can tell. For some reason, it is doing that, and I'm not sure why. But um, let me see if I can. Maybe I can switch it. Give me 1 second here, Charles. I'm gonna try to do this live again.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you use Ecamm Live to kind of go over the entire recording, and then you can put it into a short form or condense it into a short form afterwards.
Exactly, yeah. For anyone else out there that wants to use something different, there's this open source platform called OBS, Open Source Broadcasting something, or I forget. Actually, don't quote me on that one. Do you know what OBS stands for?
I think it is like a open broadcasting services or something like that,
Okay.
along those lines. Yeah, if you
Yep.
just type in OBS, it works on Windows and Mac, although I hear maybe it doesn't work great on Mac, um, but it does work on all the platforms.
Yep. Exactly. So what I'm doing here, as you guys can see, that I do all my projects in Photoshop, and this was just because I'm doing photo manipulation, so you can see what the blood splatter and stuff like that. It's taken from uh, um, an image from Unsplash. So all the images that I'm using is from Unsplash, and I can go into some of the original files. So if I go into this one, this is what it actually looked like before. So it was just a clean roller skate on there, and then I just added the blood and then did some color correction, so it made it look a little bit more eerie and scary to fit the vibe of Stranger Things. And if you don't know why there's blood on the roller skate, well, you're gonna have to just watch the episode because I almost revealed why that was. But I also don't want it to be too much of a cliche that it's just a snapshot of the episode, and so I just wanted there to be some kind of meaning behind one thing, and so that's what I chose roller skate for this one. And
Uh,
also going with the theme of the copywriting, so this is also good practice for anyone out there that wants to do something similar. If you take a cliche and rearrange it to something that's relative to the episode or whatever your work is, I think that's a fun exercise to do. Back to you, Charles.
yeah, well, so I mean, this one obviously skating on thin ice, I believe, is the original saying, if I'm
That's
correct.
right.
And
That's right.
so, yeah, changing it to skating on thin time. Uh, I love that for this poster. So, Andres, you are sharing the final video, if I'm correct, on YouTube Reels. Are you also doing it on Instagram or YouTube Shorts? Are you
But
also doing that on Instagram or?
sometimes I put it on Instagram, but for this round, I thought I'd just make it exclusive to TikTok and my YouTube Shorts.
Oh, okay,
So,
TikTok as well. Is your
yeah.
handle the same on those so people can go check that out or?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
correct.
as you
They are
can
the same.
see with his video, for me, it's right up there. Andres Ramirez Design, dot design. Go check that out and see kind of the final products. I'd be really curious. I see that in those that you're sharing, you have kind of a final render, is what it looks like. Are you producing that in Photoshop as well? You have like the poster up on the wall that you're sharing as well.
Ah, yeah. So that's a great question. I completely missed that. So the other piece to this, let's just change the layout here, is I will start creating mock-ups of this so it can look a little bit more real
Mm.
in terms of the final rendering. But the thing is, I don't have it on this computer.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Yeah, I only have the work in progress because the cool thing about Photoshop and Creative Cloud is that I saved this one to the cloud,
Mm.
but I didn't for the mockups because they're just
Gotcha.
massive files. They're just huge.
Well, this
So
episode should come out on a Wednesday, so it will be Whip Wednesday or Work in Progress Wednesday. I don't know if you've heard about that uh,
I like that.
moniker out
Yeah,
there. So we can be showing some works in progress here or in process.
definitely.
Yeah, Andres, I guess my last question, as we're kind of looking at the time coming towards the end, and before we introduce a sneak peek into a challenge that we have, is there any last advice to be able to produce? I mean, I love the tidbit that you said around batching your work so that you can kind of sit down, get in the flow, stay in the flow, and then release slowly over time. Is there any other advice or anything else that you'd be wanting to give off to people who are trying to do this for their channels or for their social media? And
Mhm.
yeah, any final advice from you?
I think it'd be a cool mindset when you're thinking about a project like this is that if Netflix were to look at this, would they hire you? Would you feel proud or good about having this pieces of work out there in the wild, and so that if they do see it, they may approach you. And that's the cool thing too. Like, let's say if one day Netflix does see this and they're like, "Oh, for the final season, we would love for you to do some special edition posters or something like that." I'm dreaming huge here, everyone.
That would be
That might not
awesome.
actually not. It might happen. It
Let's
might not happen.
let's make it happen. Audience, I don't know, contact Netflix or blast it to them and see if we can get Andres' designs onto the
Yeah.
next season.
Exactly. I have one last post to share before we end the episode,
Yeah, please
and
do.
it's this one, and I'm going to release the work in progress later today or tomorrow, and
Oh,
it's one song before the grave, and basically, if you know what this is about, it's original cliche is one foot in the grave. Now before we talk into any spoilers, there's a lot of things going on here. There's the levitating of the tape, and there's a levitating scene in this episode that
Yes.
really goes on with what I want to portray in this poster. And it's about Billy, and there's, we have Max. I have Max hidden up there, written out upside down. So a lot of things in this one. This is personally my favorite poster that I created in my mini series here, and I just want to let everyone know that one. I love
Thank
this
you
one.
so much for sharing that. I think this is my favorite poster too. I just keep seeing more little details. I can't believe you did that in an hour, or around an hour. That, wow.
Yep.
I want to talk
Yeah.
so bad about spoilers, but we will not, or we'll try not to. However, look at the tape. Maybe come back after you watch the episode and come back to this and see. Okay, can you spot all the little things? Because I think I could sit here for a while and probably spot quite a few more.
Mhm.
These are awesome though. Uh, yeah, that is great. So, Andres, did you want to talk about the challenge that we have?
Yeah, I would love for anyone out there that if you are watching this and if you want to participate in this little challenge that I put together, is that Charles is going to put the hashtag Stranger Things S4 poster challenge. And if you use that across social media, we will be looking very closely at this and seeing what everyone's producing. And then, if we get enough entries, that we'll put a compilation
Yeah,
video together to see what you guys create. Because if there's big fans like Charles and I that love Stranger Things, I'm sure that in our audience that watch our podcast, there might be many more, and it would be fun to participate in this. So make it fun. It's loose. Cap it at 100 hours. Cap it at 1 hour of your time, and then post it on social media, and then we'll take a look. And if you can tag us too, you saw we have our
yeah,
handles up. So if that becomes a thing, we'd love that. If not,
yes.
it's all cool.
Yeah, so we'll put that in the description of this video as well, along with our handles. So when you watch this, you can see, okay, here's the hashtag, and then here's if you want to post or tag us as well in those posts. Please, yeah, we're interested in doing more of these challenges, and so if this is something that you're also intrigued about, we've thought about, okay, maybe we can do some more, maybe logo or brand design, or even just like digital art. Kind of what Andres is showing off right now, or from my side, we could even do maybe some industrial design like sketching, or some more physical product challenges as well. And we can have a marrying of those two on this channel. And yeah, with that, I hear the music coming back in, the eerie Stranger Things music. And so we will end the podcast, this episode here, and we will see you in the upside down.
I
Okay.
love that.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.